Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. I am Wiggle and this is my new and improved Berserker build. This is something I've been working on for quite a while. In fact, I started working on it before I had recorded my previous Berserker video, and I'll put a link to that video in the description. Obviously, there's armor on this Berserker, so that is the big difference, or the biggest difference between this version and the previous version. So let's get into the details. All right, first the legendary perks. Now, the main difference between this version and the original, I had all three specials maxed out before, or all four specials rather, but follow through and what rads were a work in progress, and I have since leveled up the character enough to max those out. And as far as the regular perks go, now I'll go over everything, but I'm going to highlight the differences first. So I went, previously I had Grim Reaper Sprint, and I swapped that out for better criticals. So this is a critical build. It's not a hardcore critical build, but it is a critical build now. Along with Critical Savvy, Bloody Mess for a little extra damage, and Ricochet, obviously, for defensive purposes. Starch Genes to hold on to our mutations, of course. And this is all the same right here. Action Girl, Covert Operative for sneak attack damage, Born Survivor to keep us alive when our health falls too low, Sneak for, sneak, Gun Fu swapping targets in combat, and Dodgy as an extra defensive measure. Now, previously I had Intelligence at 8, and I had, I had First Aid in there. And I kept that until I was able to max out the character in terms of the legendary perks. I wanted those extra 3 points of intelligence. Since I've maxed out the legendary perk cards, I've taken those 3 points of intelligence and put them into strength so I could add in Bandolier and Traveling Pharmacy. And now our carry weight is a lot more manageable. I've got Lone Wanderer for AP regen and damage reduction. I mean, it's actually the damage reduction is the big part for that. Tenderizer for extra damage. We have Endurance at 15 because we want as much health as possible, and that's why we have Life Giver as well. Chem Fiend, so any chems we take last twice as long. Photosynthetic to give us health regen, basically, during the day. Adamantium Skeleton to prevent limb damage. And Fireproof to take a lot less damage from explosions. And then it's a commando. We have all the commando perks maxed out, along with Tank Killer, Ground Pounder for a little bit extra reload speed, and Concentrated Fire just to improve our accuracy with every shot. And then we have Blocker for defensive purposes. Now, as far as our weapons go, we have Vampire's faster fire rate, reduced AP cost, handmade. The main use of this, honestly, is when our action points run out, and this lets us manually aim. Or any other situation where we want to manually aim. To me, it's a lot easier than a Fixer. Fixer has a little bit more recoil, bounces around a bit more. And the Fixer we were using before is in the stash. And now the one we're using is a Berserker's VATS critical hits do 50% more damage, 25% less VATS action point cost. Which, this is, with a crit build, this is actually going to do quite a bit more damage than the one we were using before. The one we were using before had the middle star was replenish action points on a kill. And then we have this Vampire's pipe pistol. The only reason for that is because it has exploding bullets. That's just for tagging purposes and something like Radiation Rumble. Other than that, it doesn't really serve any other purpose other than for tagging. Now, here's where we get to the big difference. I have a set of level 1 leather armor, light leather armor, and it's all Overeaters. This took so many modules and so many months to roll. So every piece is Overeaters. We have 3 pieces that are poison resistance. The third stars are just kind of various. I mean, this one slowly regens radiation, but it was the first and second star was the big focus on this build. So I have 3 pieces with poison resist and 2 pieces with AP regen. And that's the big reason for wearing armor, is for the benefits, the secondary stars, getting some poison resistance because we had none before, and that was a pretty big vulnerability, and the AP regen as well, which helps a lot, especially with Dodgy, and just in general, having AP regen is a good thing. So, and then we have the full set of Overeaters, so that gives us at 6 points or 6% damage reduction per piece, that gives us a 30% damage reduction. So as far as defense goes, it's really good. And as you can see down there at the bottom in the Pip-Boy display, so we have the rad resist and we have energy resist as well. That comes from the mutations. I'll go over mutations. And then we have the poison resist, but our damage resistance is at 0. So even though we're wearing a full set, our damage is at 0. Oh, and our apparel. And I've also added in shielded road leathers, which adds 3 perception, 3 agility, 1 luck. And it also adds to the damage resistance and energy resistance, but the total is still at 0. And the reason for that, we have a Med-X addiction and a Psycho addiction. And each one of those have a side effect of minus 10 damage resistance. So if you were to add up, you know, if you added up all the armor, the damage resistance from the armor, and from the shielded leathers, it would actually add up to exactly 20. And then we get minus 20 from the addiction. So that gives us a net of 0. And I have 2 pieces of armor, and I'm not sure which. 2 of these pieces are shadowed. The other ones are just standard, but 2 pieces are shadowed because if I couldn't do any more, if I did any more shadowed, it would give us some damage resistance, which we don't want at all. And as far as and we use perfect bubblegum, I've been using that, so I make sure that my food meters and drink meters are always at 100%. So I'm always getting that protection from the overeater's effect. Now, as far as our mutations go, we have bird bones. The main reason for that is the extra agility. Help with the sneakiness, give us more action points. Carnivore, and that's something I don't use it much. I mean, for the most part, it's about the perfect bubblegum. But I do, when Scorch Beast meat becomes available, not necessarily Scorch Beast meat, but the lungs and the other parts, they're very beneficial. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty lazy, it's not really a food build, it's pretty lazy. I don't have good with salt, nothing like that. This is supposed to be a low maintenance build. But when something beneficial comes up, we have it, we consume it. It helps us temporarily. Eagle Eyes for the extra perception and critical damage. Grounded to give us energy resistance, because that doesn't affect the Berserker's effect. And Speed Demon for extra movement speed and reload speed. And one more difference that I did not mention on the equipment is both the Handmade and the Fixer are using the tweaked automatic receiver rather than powerful automatic. And that's just because that deals extra critical shot damage. And it doesn't make much difference in terms of, I mean, it's a little weaker with normal shots, but not significant. So it's basically the criticals are a lot more powerful now. All right, with all the details out of the way, I think it's time to take the build for a spin. All right, now this is a character I typically play as a stealth build. And as you can see, it kills things just fine. But honestly, that's nothing special. I mean, you can kill things just fine with any number of builds. But with this, keeping in mind that I have 0 damage resistance, if I didn't want to play in stealth, obviously I wouldn't get the sneak attacks and stuff would take longer to kill. But the point of that is we can actually get shot at quite a bit and still do okay. Although these super mutants don't seem to be as aggressive as the ones that I'm used to seeing. But there's this one, so we obviously are taking a little bit of damage. And I don't know why this one's not shooting me at all. Maybe he's out of bullets, I don't know. But we'll see if he gets around to shoot me. He's taking my health a bit, but then, yeah. And I do use super stim packs. I was using regular stim packs when I had first aid, but then once I moved first aid away, I'm using the super stims. They actually work better overall. But as you can see, stuff dies just fine. I do really good damage, and that's not sneaking. So, yeah, our survivability is really good, and our damage is really good. And here we have everybody's favorite punching bag. Looks like he's just now waking up. So suppose he's really frustrated and we decide to let him take a little frustration out on us. See, we can let him hit us, and he does damage, no doubt, and he does a fairly significant amount. Oops, now I'm underwater. That wasn't part of my plan. Oh, underwater again. But as you can see, we can take a punch and do just fine. Take him down just fine. So it took half our health. But we're still alive because, number one, we have a lot of health. But also just the damage reduction perk, you know, between all the damage reduction perks and our armor, it really reduces how much incoming damage we're taking. And plus, as you can see, my health is regenerating, and that's from the, what is that perk? That's the photosynthetic perk. So I'm just doing nothing, and my health is coming back. All right. So now we are at my favorite part of the test. I want to let this Assaultron get a little closer, because I want to be able to get a good view. All right, there we go. So if we just aggro them a little bit. There we go. So let's do some photo mode. Get rid of that. So we can just kind of watch. Character does okay. I mean, you can hear Ricochet triggering like crazy, and yeah. I've tried to take a picture of this, but it blurs out whenever, so yeah. So as you can see, the character can take a punch. It's quite durable with 0 damage resistance. So yeah, this is my favorite part. I'll go through a stim pack every once in a while because I am taking damage. It's just reduced. As you can see, I have my handmade equipped. So some of the times Ricochet will trigger, and because that is a vampire weapon, that will actually heal me a little bit. Oh, there we go, a little bit toasty. And every time you hear Ricochet triggering. But yeah, this is a fun build, and it's very low maintenance because it's not a food build. I just use the perfect bubblegum, and yeah, this Assaultron's probably pretty flustered at this point. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun character. It was a fun video to make. If it's something you enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.